E equals mc²D² solve Bob Lazar's puzzles. Recently I responded to E equals mc² as wrong story by Fermion physics, and I have decided to elaborate on it, from a broader perspective ranging from universe beginning, through dinosaur extinction, and to the main UFO story. It turns out that we cannot create particles or atoms even with such humongous devices like CERN, which cover territories of several countries. All we can do is smashing atoms and particles into other atoms and parts. And the reason for such inability is time barrier, which is much stronger than Coulomb barrier, which held humanity from getting nuclear reaction for a while. Details of what I'm talking about are in the book Time Matters, which is free on Amazon and Google, and you can get PDF here. Time dilation, or uneven flow of time, was discovered by Einstein theoretically, and then it was confirmed in real life. For example, time runs slower near Earth than away from it, and we feel it as gravity, and time runs faster in spiral arms of our Milky Way galaxy than outside the arms, and that was the root cause for dinosaur extinction, and everything else were just effects of the root cause. And time speed changes not only from one area in space to another area, but time speed changes everywhere with time. For example, time was twice slower in our universe 14 years ago, and that was misinterpreted as the time of the Big Bang, and time was 12 times slower 32 years ago, and perhaps billions or trillion times slower before. Interestingly, that time can be canned. When a particle or an atom is created, time of the environment is encapsulated inside the particle or the atom. And particles could be created before, in a slower time of universe, and atoms could be created later, so slowness of time inside atoms/nucleus/particles can be different. Time in universe speeds up, or decays, as it actually burns into particles, while in the particles it is more stable and decays at a lower rate. That explains roughly, details are in the book, why we cannot create particles or atoms, and I'm not talking about smashing or mixing them. That is because we cannot manage time yet and slow it down. There is one exception that we use for smashing and mixing. We accelerate charged particles in strong electromagnetic field, and that slows time inside these particles even more, but that's about it. And another exception comes from Bob Lazar's story. Greater than now to Bob Lazar's puzzles. About half a pound of element 115 was used as the fuel for the craft, and that element was stable, compared to synthetic elements 115 humans created, which last second or so. That means these element 115 atoms were created in the environment where time was billions, if not trillion, times slower. If in an atom that lives 1 second or so, time can be slowed down trillion times, then it will last 30,000 years or so before it decays. Similar life-extending effect, due to relativistic time dilation, is known and observed with very short-lived otherwise particles called muons. Now to the part about half a pound of such atoms contain enormous energy. I denote the rate of slowness as d. D stands for time dilation, which is more than 1 b equals 1 billion in the Bob Lazar's case we discuss. An energy formula with time dilation accounted for is actually E equals mc²D² for an object at rest. That is reminiscent to relativistic Einsteinian formula E equals mc²D plus 1/d/2 when time dilation is caused by high speed of an object. And d greater than 1 b, or even more, in the Bob Lazar's case explains how half a pound of the fuel could be so energetic due to d² factor. Compare to d equals 1 no time dilation energy when both formulas come to the basic E equals mc² energy. Free ebook Beyond Cutting Edge with Bob Lazar in PDF, Amazon, Google. E equals mc²D² well explained here, based on energy conservation alone. E equals mc²D plus 1/d/2 appears as formula 5 here.